Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. This is going to be a layout update for January 2017, and so this layout update marks about 6 months, just a little bit over 6 months now working on the layout. And pretty quick, I got nothing much to show you besides just some more of the sub-roadbed that I was working on over the past month. So last layout update, I was working around over here. I think I got around somewhere around that part, the plywood sub-roadbed. So basically all I did over the last month and over the Christmas break was just keep continuing on with that sub-roadbed, using the paper templates to mark down on the plywood and then cut out all these fir 5/8 plywood pieces for the sub-roadbed. So I continued on past this point now, through Lake Louise here. So that's the maintenance away yard. That'll be the station. Working all the way around past my son's mess here and connected it. So that's where I had it, a couple months ago I had finished the double track section there. So this week I got that last piece in, so it's a pretty good milestone. All that CP sub-roadbed is done now, so can move on, start working on something else. So Lake Louise, there's a 1% grade here, just like on the prototype. So I'll move the camera here so we can see it, and I'll show you how I did that. So now that I've got a lot of this sub-roadbed done, you can actually kind of see the reasons why the benchwork goes up and down, kind of. So this spot here where the benchwork is quite low, you can see up here on the wall, the photo, that's going to be the overpass in the town of Lake Louise. So the tracks go over top of a highway underpass that goes up to the hotel. And then just a little bit further along is another, just a single track girder bridge right there. And that is the Pipestone River goes under that bridge, and it's nothing fancy. It's a pretty low bridge, but it's a neat little spot in Lake Louise. So I do have a picture hanging on the wall here for reference. So this is the mainline CTC controlled switch at milepost 116, right in the town of Lake Louise. And it's an interesting spot on the CP. Further down the track near Divide, there's a section that was 1.8% grade. So that was a real bottleneck. So what they did in 1981 was they added this new grade here that's a constant 1% for the entire climb up to the Great Divide. So I've tried to capture that as best I can on my layout. And so here we are. This would be the view if you were standing on the tracks looking down towards the station at Lake Louise. So on my layout, I've tried to capture that as best I can with the, still heavily compressing the space. So this is the switch right here at milepost 116, and that's the grade there on the right. So that's a 1% grade, just like on the real thing. And I kept it flat on the old line that'll go past the station here, and then you can see that that new grade rising up, and then once it gets past the station, I start dropping it down again because I had to get it back down to the same level as the old line to get into the reverse loop. So it rises about almost 4 inches above the other one before it drops back down. And it takes just about 20 feet to get there. There's more of an above track view, but so other things that are interesting in Lake Louise, there's this spur here along the back wall. They call that the chalet spur. That's where it's a long spur, and sometimes they'll park like a work gang there, or often the Royal Canadian Pacific excursion train will overnight there on that chalet spur. So that'll kind of be a cool, one of the cool operational aspects of my layout. 2816, there's lots of pictures of it sitting on the on this spur as well. So that'll be cool. I'm doing that, and it's one of the only opportunities for switching besides Banff Yard on my also that little short maintenance away track right here. Sometimes they'll keep cool things like the fan for moving air when they're working in the spiral tunnels. They've got this fan, great big fan mounted on a flat car, and they'll park it here. Other things are like a switch, propane switch heaters, refilling train. Sometimes park there, and the maintenance away equipment, obviously. But that'll be a nice little one little siding. So there aren't many industries or spurs. Well, there's no industries at all, but there's a couple spurs, and this is where a lot of the action will take place. Not only will the Royal Canadian Pacific stop here, make a station stop here, but also the Rocky Mountaineer has a station stop up here at the station right there. So that'll be pretty cool, and as well as mainline trains meet. This is a meeting spot, so lots of times eastbound trains, which are usually lighter, come down the old line here, and they'll stop at the station and wait for a signal while the westbound train slugs it up the new grade. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to, you know, like a fully loaded potash train working the grade there and struggling to make it up just like on the real thing, while, you know, like an eastbound sits in the siding and waits. So that's going to be a pretty cool part of the layout, and this is one of my favorite spots on the CP is Lake Louise, so I think it's going to be pretty neat. Here's another view of the there's some Canadian Pacific buildings. I didn't print out any track templates where it was just straight, so that's why it ends. That's why it ends right there. But right here is there's a garden, like a flower garden, and then the station at Lake Louise. So this is just looking the other way through Lake Louise, so that'll be the station there, obviously, and this is the peak of the grade, so it's the highest right there before it starts going back down. And there's some other interesting things. So if we just move a little bit further westbound, the track kind of gets curvy. So the new line is dropping at a 1% here, and the old line is just flat. But kind of right over here, there will be, I'm going to model what they call it, it's like a bear gate, I think they call it. And they've installed these to try to keep the grizzly bears out of town, because they get in there and cause all sorts of trouble. They're electrified mats, basically. I'll include a couple pictures here. But that's going to be something cool, that neat to model, and kind of an interesting conversation piece. There's two bear gates actually. Each line has its own. So moving further west past Lake Louise, then we get to this corner where the layout again turns around. This will be an interesting scene, and I've kind of taken a little bit of artistic license with it, but this will be the Bath Creek crossing. And there's two separate girder bridges crossing the same creek in close proximity, and one is a little bit higher than the other because, like I was mentioning before, the new line that's closest to us, that rises at a steady 1% all the way to divide, and the old line kind of goes up and down. So that curves around, and then it just joins up with the section of divide that I built quite a while ago, which goes back to double track there and heads around over the crossovers and back into staging. Well, just for fun, in case anybody hasn't seen it before, Trains Magazine did this thing on Northern Transcontinental Railroad mountain passes quite a while back, but you can find this on the internet, and it has a whole bunch of all the different railroads, and including Canadian Pacific and all the different grade revisions they did. So this is Lake Louise, so you can see back at the station there, the one little section I'm modeling. You can see where this the old line's basically flat there almost, but the new line takes off and it's 1% the whole way. And the reason they revised the grade is because of this section here. This was a problem. You're 1.82% really push the limits of train lengths and stuff. So that's basically what I'm modeling is this section here, about that much, and then again up here, about that much of it. So I also found one of these old media packages. Canadian Pacific put out a pamphlet, I guess it was for media, about the project, and this was in 1981. And that's also available on the internet if anybody's interested. But they've got the different things they did, and this is kind of a cool little map of the two grades. So in case anybody's wondering how I did those 1% grades, I borrowed the method from Pelle Soeberg's book. What the heck's it called? Done in a Day, I think? Or no, Rebuilding a Layout from A to Z. So he shows this method where he does a 2% grade on his layout, but this is, you can use this method for any grade really, and that's the real advantage of doing it. So a 1% grade is 1 foot in 100 feet. Alright, 1%. So what I did is just did it in metric, and I made a 100 centimeter stick, and I measured the length, and then you just put a screw in one end, and that screw sticks out 1 centimeter. So then you have 1 centimeter in 100 centimeters, a 1% grade. So all you do is put a level on that stick, just like this, and move it up and down and adjust the risers. And if you're level like that, then you know that you're making a 1% grade. And it's really easy. And you could do it smaller if you wanted. You could make it, you could have a 10 centimeter stick that rises 1 millimeter, would be the same thing. But I found this worked pretty good. Even on the curves, I just moved it, or stretched it over the curve, and it worked quite well. So that's how I did the 1% grade. So that'll wrap up this layout update, guys. I'm getting ready to do the layer of rubber sound deadening material. So pretty soon I'm going to be laying that down, and then pretty exciting, going to be doing some switches and some track laying on the reverse loops. So it's coming along slowly but surely. Try to get a little bit done every day if I can, but so sometimes you don't get down here for a week or whatever, but such is life. Alright guys, that'll wrap this up. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time.